bracket. It's MaxPax. It's Elazer. The last time that Elazer won a series is almost a year ago. The last 13 maps have gone in favor of the Prince of Denmark. But BO, no more. We had a 3-0, we had a 4-0, we had a 3-0. It's enough. Let's get some competitive started.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But to start us off on the bottom left on Amphion, he's in the blue for Team Liquid. It's Elazer.
And in the top left side, we are looking at the main base of one of the absolute favorites to win the entire European Spring Regionals. It is the Prince of Denmark fighting for Storm Gaming, MaxPax. PvZ, BO, how do you feel about PvZ on this map and on this patch? Did they get to you yet, those Zergies? Have they convinced you that Protoss is Imba?
Well, I've been of the opinion that... so I started playing StarCraft in 2013, Roddy. Okay? In fact, I remember the game that got me into it. Scarlet Bomber, Star Station, Regionals, 2013 summer. And I have, ever since I started playing Zerg, you know, a little bit after that. Of course, I started playing Terran and I got banely busted and I just died. But I started playing Zerg a little bit after that, and say from early 2014 maybe. From 2014 to 2024, I have been of the opinion that Protoss is insanely OP in this matchup because I never win. I have ZVP has got to be my worst win rate by a mile, so you know, didn't take a lot of convincing.
I believe it. You said Scarlet Bomber Regionals, but you meant the famous game, right, with the Burrowed Banelings?
No. Scarlet Bomber on Star Station, on the regional, not the Americas regionals, but it was the global final.
WCS Premier League.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
When
cool.
She's creeping bombers like third base by 8 minutes or so.
All right. Yeah, I was wondering because a lot of people, when they hear Scarlet Bomber, they will always think back of the Red Bull Battlegrounds event that we had a long time ago in New York. But that's not the one you mentioned.
No, that was for a long time. That was my greatest game I've ever seen. But
yeah,
no, it's not what got me into StarCraft.
All right, cool. Let's see what MaxPax and Elazer are going to do to give you guys a little speed course, perhaps, on why a lot of Zergs are very unhappy with this matchup. It's a combination of a few things that have changed over time. I know when it comes to the regionals and big online events like this, we have a lot of returning viewers, and they'll be like, what? Protoss is Imba? I thought Zerg was Imba. Well, Zerg was very good for a while, but the Zergs really struggle with Protoss at the moment, and I think the biggest unit that causes most pain is actually the Immortal, right? Like, sure, Oracles are annoying, Blinkstalkers are good, but I think it's the combination of Immortals with then Archons to deal with Lings or Storm to deal with Lings. I think the Immortal is the bane of a lot of Zerg pain at the moment, and they just can't really find proper ways to tackle an army that has a lot of Immortals with all those hardened shields, as they seem to be living up to the name, and they truly are immortal.
Yeah, it's kind of fun as well as you take a look at it. So, I mean, these two adepts are just going to commit forward, knocking a drone down pretty early. So Immortals are a problem, certainly. But also just in general, it's between the Baneling changes and the Immortal changes and everything else. Protoss ground. Man, MaxPax is getting far more than he's any right to here. This is going to be 5 drones. And I don't think 2 adepts get out, but I think the second adept probably gets out here as well. At least into the natural. Maybe, yeah, it's going to go down. Speedlings are there. But it's also the fact that between the Baneling changes and everything else that happened, ground Protoss is far more viable into the mid game and the late game than it has been in quite a while. So it's not just the Immortals, they're terrifying. But you don't have this point where suddenly the Zerg army gets really strong and they can build something that is better than what the ground Protoss has and kind of necessitates this transition, and then, you know, Sky Toss and whatever, and you kind of open up some timing windows. The Protoss transitions when the Protoss wants to transition. They have a lot more agency in how they decide to play the map, and as a Zerg player, that's kind of hard to figure out, and hard to figure out how exactly you want to fight into that.
MaxPax actually being very passive so far with his Oracles. I think he was maybe a tiny bit worried about something weird like a Baneling boss, even if he didn't see a Baneling nest, or maybe a quick Nidus or something. So he was just checking to make sure nothing weird was happening on his side of the map, because he's probably just thinking, whoa, my first 2 adepts, they get 5 drones. That's amazing. I think the last time that MaxPax lost to PvZ, where he killed 5 drones early on with 2 adepts, was somewhere in the winter of 2021. So now he's just making sure that nothing too weird is happening, and he will get the confirmation that everything is still standard on Elazer's side of the map. He'll be like, cool, so you're telling me that I'm playing a PvZ where I've killed 8 drones in minute 5 and I didn't lose an Oracle? That's awesome. He's gonna follow it up with Resonating Glaive Adept. Elazer has not dropped a Roach one yet, or a Baneling Nest, or really anything, not even a lair, as he's just trying to recover from that early economic damage he took. And 5 drones that early cannot be overstated. Like, we can't emphasize enough on how big of a deal that is, because as a Zerg you only have like 30 drones or something, so if you lose 5 of them that early, you're losing close to 20% of your economy, and that's just absolutely disastrous. I mean, Elazer is really overcompensating at the moment. For a split second we had 18 drones on the production tab. That's kind of what he needs to do if he wants to make this a playable macro game. The problem is the follow-up is going to be a bunch of adepts with glaives, the shading to the other side of the map. Elazer's current army, BO, 2 Zerglings. Oh, yeah.
Man, this is wild as well. So there were times when Oracle into glaive was a thing, single Oracle. There's no world where Elazer would expect this unless he explicitly scouts it, because you don't go 3 base double Oracle into glaive, and he's handling it well enough for now, I guess, but he is immediately dead. That's such a cool build for MaxPax.
Yeah, that is a very cool build, but I think a lot of builds are very cool when you move out and your opponent's army is 2 Zerglings. Like, I think you can show up with 12 sentries and you'd be like, that is a really cool move out, and that's going to be difficult for Elazer to deal with. Because, yeah, when your entire army is 2 links, and of course there are some queens that are meant to buy time until the real units come out, but if the only real units you can build are Zerglings, yeah, Zerglings by themselves against like 8+ adepts with glaives is not it. 6 minutes and 19 seconds complete MaxPax domination, as MaxPax now makes it 14 map wins in a row against Elazer in a competitive environment. I am starting to fear the worst, BO. Is this curse ever going to end, mate? Are we going to get a fun competitive series today, please? One time?
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm the, whatever the opposite of a rabbit's foot is, I'm a decaying rabbit's foot. Like, the good majority of series and of all the days I've cast here in Asia and in Europe have been kind of rough, kind of one-sided. We had great games, like Nina Special in Americas was fantastic.
Yeah, that was good.
There was a disc series that was really awesome as well. But other than that, I guess I'm the rotten rabbit's foot. I really apologize, Roddy. I guess if you're really mad, tweet at me. Tell me why it's my fault. I don't know.
I don't think it is your fault. I hope that Elazer can step it up. If Elazer doesn't do it, I mean, Showtime Spirit has to be close and competitive, right? Anyway,
I think that's going to be good. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also think that post-youth has some potential. I mean, this first game is incredibly brutal. I tried to put in words properly of how big of a deal losing 5 drones early is. Elazer knows how big of a deal that is, and that's why he was trying to overcompensate with insane greed, hoping that he would have the time to actually get himself well set up. MaxPax does not like giving you time if you don't deserve time, so that's a wrap for game number 1. Let's hope that in game 2, the first 2 adepts will not kill 5 drones, and then I believe, BO, we can get some fireworks. Because if I want to complain about one-sided games, I want to complain about Immortals, okay? I want to make my Zerg brethren proud and talk about how those Immortals never die. I don't want to see 2 adepts win the game.
Well, we're going to have to see if that's going to happen, because for now, he's down 1 on post-youth. In the bottom left, it's Elazer.
And in the top right side, one of the main favorites to win it all this time around when it comes to the ESL Masters Spring Europe Regionals. We are looking at the main base of Psystorm Gaming's MaxPax on a 14-map win streak over Elazer. I don't know all the numbers when it comes to historic achievements in StarCraft 2, but I cannot think of many people that have won 14 maps in a row against Elazer. That's pretty insane, BO.
Yeah, that's a lot. And, you know, to Elazer's credit a little bit, to give him maybe some benefit of the doubt in that game 1, on top of having to be greedy, because you lose 5 drones that early, another 4 on the Oracles a little bit later on. Like, it is a big deal. So you're droning hard and you're skipping a Roach Warren if you can. But I talked about it a little bit in that game as well. If I'm Elazer and I see double Oracle, there's no world where I'm expecting, what was that, 10, 12, 15 adepts shading in with the glaives. It's just, it's so far out of the meta that it was a really nice decision for MaxPax. Because again, we've seen Oracle into glaives, but that's a single Oracle. The glaive timing hits at 530 or so. So MaxPax, by getting that second Oracle, by delaying it by like 30, 45 seconds, all of a sudden, it's so far away from Elazer's kind of radar about what he's going to expect that I don't need to pump units out. There's no Protoss timing. You know, I think I can drone here. So yes, getting behind early is certainly a big deal, but also the the smoke screen, I guess, that MaxPax put out did a really nice job of just Elazer had no idea what was happening.
I do agree with you, and I haven't seen it that much either lately, especially not double Oracle into Resident Enclave Adept. But I also still want to point out that Elazer's army was 2 Zerglings. So instead of that being Adepts, what if it's Zealots with charge? Something we do see very often. With or without +1. That will not end up any better for Elazer, right?
That's fair. It gets across the map a little slower, so maybe it's 5 more seconds.
Zealots are fast, mate. Zealots in charge. Charge researches in no time, and Zealots are incredibly quick. So I don't know. I feel like Elazer was just hoping that MaxPax, I don't know, maybe would go for some sort of a fleet beacon build or would move out very, very late with Blink Stalkers. But yeah, even against Zealots with charge, I think you are just as dead there as you would have been against the Resident Enclave Adepts.
You tell me I just got too much Zerg cope. Fair enough. Now, Roddy, as we get our way into post-youth here, I looked at this map. When I saw it come, I'm like, man, this is so bad for Zerg. Holy crap. An in-base natural like that with half gold just feels like it's going to be horrible. But now that we've got a chance to take a look at these Adepts, they're going to get 2. If they get 5 again, it's going to be 3. They're going to get 5. No. And this time there was the surround as well. It was lost mining time. Oh. Well, where we go in this game? I was going to ask you, how do you feel about post-youth as a Protoss player? Because it feels bad as a Zerg. But we just saw 5 drones go down, and it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yep. Before 3 minutes and 45 seconds into the game, before Elazer's work account was even above 30, it is just as bad as it was on Amphion. We do have 4 Lings being annoying, and they're going to grab a worker. That may very well be the first probe that has gone down in this series, so that is something. A cancel or even a kill on that pylon. Unfortunately, these 4 Lings will not have enough DPS to actually get a cancel on the Nexus. I think this map has some good Zerg potential, actually, because a lot of that low ground, high ground in the center of the map makes it a bit difficult to figure out where exactly Zerg units are coming from. And this is actually a good lurker map as well. I know a lot of the Zergs don't love lurkers against Protoss because of that other problematic unit I mentioned, the Immortal. Immortal's just too damn good against lurkers. But if there is one map that I would say is good for lurkers, it is this one. So I feel like there is some Zerg potential, but it all starts with the early game. StarCraft 2, as much fun of a game as it is, BO, the first 4 or 5 minutes are so crucial at the highest level when you're looking at the best players in the world. And this just, again, heavily favors MaxPax. It's a little bit sad. I'm happy for MaxPax. I'm happy for all the Protoss fans out there. But I want to see close, fun, competitive StarCraft. And this is just another really crappy start for Elazer.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? We spend so much time in a StarCraft cast not talking about the game through the first 5 minutes in a lot of the games because not a lot happens for the most part. You're waiting for tech to develop, things like that. Man, Oracles are still going to get more damage here. 3, 4. It just doesn't feel good. And I mean, he skips spores to try to make some comeback happen, but that just means these mineral lines, if the queens are not exactly where well, I guess he's got a spore on the outside base, but they're just these weak spots that MaxPax can go in and punish even further. But again, we talked about these early game, not a lot happened necessarily in terms of active things to talk about, but it lays that foundation for everything else. So man, Elazer just putting himself down early. At this point, MaxPax is +1 blink. Elazer, he's technically in a good build order position, right? He's got +1 melee on the way, 22 Lings, but I mean, Roddy, this is 13 dead drones.
When you're making 22 Zerglings or 44 drones, you are never happy, unless you can somehow delay a 3rd base of the Protoss, but that base is done. It's well protected. It's not going to go down. I'm not sure what Elazer can do. He's got a crazy amount of Zerglings, does not have a Bailing Nest. I have the feeling that he's just going to right-click all of these Lings into the 3rd base of MaxPax and pray that he can completely overrun. Hey, this is a nice catch, by the way, as the Stalkers don't have Blink yet. So Elazer gets his first proper victory of the series when he's going to need more than just a couple Stalkers. If you can get that battery, that'd be awesome. But MaxPax so quick in making sure that the probes are surrounding that battery. And probes with battery overcharge support, actually pretty good against Zerglings, believe it or not.
Yeah, really nice just hold position there, making the Lings. They had a little bit of an angle they could get on top of it, but not a ton. So 7 probes go down, and already, I mean, this is 7 times. This is an infinite amount of times more economic damage that Elazer's gotten in game 2 than in game 1. But okay, right? MaxPax, by losing those Stalkers, actually it forces him back off the map quite a bit. You move out, you want to have those Stalkers there, but losing, what was it, like 5 Stalkers is actually a pretty big deal as you try to snowball this. So a Elazer behind this is a very quick high. He's got +1 melee. This feels like it's going to be kind of an ultra play, and against Stalker Colossus, which is what it looks like MaxPax is getting himself set up for Colossus, a bunch of Stalkers. How do you feel about this early Ultra idea? Assuming that's what it is.
Yeah, it might actually be Lurkers, right? Because now we dropped the Hydra then. I thought maybe it could be Ultras as well. I mean, there is a world where Elazer can absolutely make something of this game because he does have that gold in the center of the map, and that is obviously going to make up for some of that economic deficit. Good job there by Elazer, activating the stasis trappy with only a couple of these Zerglings. The second stasis trap, though, is a whole lot bigger. The first one wasn't very impactful. The second one is, as Elazer is just cranking out as many Zerglings as possible. We see traps going off everywhere. Queens, unfortunately, off creep there for a couple of inches, but that is enough. All the Queens die, and there is a Colossus that's about to come out as well. I mean, I don't know if we can talk about Lurkers, Ultras, whatever. Elazer needs to hold first. He cannot lose this gold, but he also can't fight all these Stalkers that are well protected by the Oracles here.
Yeah, Roddy, I apologize for my hubris thinking that this game might go a little bit longer after how much damage MaxPax has done, how much pressure he's able to put on, and yeah, there's another Ling run by. This probably cancels the gold base. I don't see anything necessarily nearby, so there's the cancel for 4 probes go down, 5 probes go down. But I mean, we're on Blink Stalker Colossus. It's +1. Certainly this Ling run by is continuing to get more, but there's a cannon, a shield battery here. And the better question, like, what does Elazer have? He's got Lings against Colossus play. Young Yakov might make that happen occasionally, but Lings against Colossus
is big now, by the way.
Not...
This is starting to snowball a tiny bit because he actually got the cannon and the battery, so we're not just going to get a couple of probes, we're going to get 30 plus probes. And what he does have is Queens, and Queens are actually pretty good in at least absorbing the Colossus shots. I mean, this has been a great Zergling counter by Elazer. He just got 29 probes, and he's trying to buy some time for, yeah, maybe some Lurkers. Like, only Lings and Hydras, I agree with you, he's in serious trouble, because 2 Colossus can roast that for days. But if he gets a couple Lurkers out, it's a shame for Elazer that that's not a cancel. But his final Ling counterattack, BO, it looked like MaxPax was taking care of it, but he underestimated it and actually did a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah, I was convinced that this was, with the cannons and the shield battery and the probe pull and everything else, and the attack in the front, I was convinced that this was not going to get enough done, but canceling the fourth base, forcing the Protoss down to like 30 workers or so, and now getting the time for these Lurkers to come out. All of a sudden, Colossus Stalker, it's great against Hydras, great against Lings. They're light units, they don't have the range necessarily. Oh, it's a kill again. But Colossus into Lurkers, Stalkers into Lurkers, it really is not all that great. Now with Lurker range is going to be done as well, so Colossus now really don't fight. It's a great stasis, and that will allow MaxPax to retreat, but Lasers on 4 bases now. He's got his +1 range. He'd love to get +2 eventually. He's got Lurker range on the way. And now MaxPax, this is a lot harder for him to attack into, short of a ton of charge lots and Archons and Immortals, or these big beefy units that actually allow you to get on top of all these things.
MaxPax, by blinking forward there to chase those Zerglings, is accidentally going to find this base. I don't think in his mind it made any sense that Elazer had that one going too, after he already killed the Triangle Expand, and then he killed that gold as well that didn't get cancelled. And he's like, whoa, another one? Yes, another one. And Elazer actually still has a bit of money. He feels very rich for a Zerg, only on 69. Please tell me he cancelled that one this time around, and he did. Because it's a shame that he lost those 450 additional minerals. Because Elazer really was starting to make some magic happen, and he might still be, right? 7 Lurkers are out, 7 more Lurkers on the way, 14 Lurkers with both of the Hive Tech upgrades against Stalker Colossus. Why are we not allowed to believe over here, Bio?
I mean, that's a bunch of High Templar that I don't think Storm's not even being researched, so keeping them there doesn't really matter, but that's a bunch of High Templar that maybe he was going to find. Now they're Archons, so this gold base is going to get defended. But I don't know why we're not allowed to believe Roddy. I currently am believing. It's a 4-base Protoss. He's got himself turtle up. He's got Vipers on the way, and MaxPax, again, he's not in that bad of a spot. But he actually hasn't probed up nearly as back up as quickly as I would have thought. He's only on 57 probes. It's an okay economy, but it's not 73 workers, right? It's not that big Protoss economy you'd like to find. And even as he's doing a really nice job of making sure the Zerg can't get up to 5 hatcheries, we're not seeing a 5th base from him as well. He's taking it low and slow, certainly. But the longer this goes, the more opportunity Elazer has to max himself out, to get +2, to get more Lurkers, to get more Vipers, to build an army that MaxPax has is really going to struggle to fight.
Almost wish that Elazer would have mined out those minerals there, because that mineral wall now works against him a little. Don't think he was really expecting Stalkers to blink in, I guess, in this phase in the game, but it is a play. In the end, the Lurkers make it over in time. MaxPax has a slightly bigger army, but Elazer's got, I think, a more powerful army, but that might just be temporarily, because the Archon count is going up, the Immortal count is rising, and it's double robo at this point, as MaxPax is finding a lot of damage with the Zealots and the Archers. He's just running past these Lurkers like they don't even exist.
I mean, he's getting a lot of damage. That's 14 dead drones, and actually he's going to knock the Natural down as well with these Blink Stalkers. I was going to say really nice. I mean, it's just a really nice move. But, again, it's not like that was free, Roddy. That was a decent amount of Archons going down, Zealots going down. Why is this army in the middle of the map? The question I ask myself now is, I know Vipers were made. Where are these Vipers? Abduct's Blinding Clouds on this army would be incredible, but Vipers are
chilling.
They're just not here.
They're chilling in the natural, or at least the low ground natural, I guess, of Elazer. He should really bring them over. Maybe he wants to abduct a Colossus that runs into that original tree-based setup, and then Lynx can take care of the Stalkers. I'm not totally certain. But I'm with you. With a nice Blinding Cloud here, there absolutely is some potential in the 16 Lurkers that the Elazer currently has out on the map. He's morphing 2 more. MaxPax's second army is still just roaming, denying bases in the bottom side of the map. And MaxPax now feels that there is a little moment as those Lurkers were exposed. He gets a couple of them. Also loses a few of these high HP expensive Protoss units. It is definitely a fun game as MaxPax's second army has casually made it into the main base. Snipes the Hydra then. But this is where these Stalkers should normally have a hard time getting out. They are most likely going to blink to the low ground, or he's just going to Rico. And Rico it is. Smart move there by MaxPax, because if he waits a little bit longer, he's actually in danger of losing every single Stalker there.
And MaxPax is just playing the map so beautifully right now. Lurkers are strong against this composition. They can be, as Blinding Cloud goes down. One abduct for the Vipers are just not getting the value that they want. Lurkers can be strong, absolutely, but they can't fight undefended. You need something to be able to buff them, to give them the time to get that shots off. And MaxPax by counterattacking with a Colossus and like 15 Stalkers or whatever it was, forced the entire army of Elazer back home, and all of a sudden it's 10 Lurkers with nothing to defend them. And Lurkers, as tanky as they are, you get a bunch of Charge Lots and Immortals and Colossus and everything else on top of them, they will go down. So yeah, Elazer, much better game too, but leaving the Lurkers alone like that, that's not a recipe for victory. And MaxPax is a little closer, but he goes up 2-0.
Beautiful army movement by MaxPax there indeed towards the last 2-3 minutes of the game. Often people say that Protoss players just have to A move. They walk around with a little death ball. Well, that's quite the opposite of what MaxPax was doing there. Left units at home to defend against run-bys, had an army in the top left, and had an army that was just roaming between that gold, the low ground expand, and then the in-base natural of Elazer. And it was perfect army control. Really well done, because at one point I actually kind of liked how this game started to look for Elazer. That second link counter, like the first one was good, where he got a couple probes and he grabbed 4 Stalkers before Blink was ready, but the second one was nothing short of amazing, where he gets the cannon, the battery, a couple Stalkers, and close to 30 workers. Like, MaxPax's economy was absolutely in the gutter for a bit, but he just made sure that he never lost all the Stalkers, or he lost all the Colossus at once. And yeah, shows us that not every single Protoss is an F2 addict like myself.
F2 is the best way to play. Clearly, I mean, look, Roddy, if you as a Protoss player can get a GM rocking the F2, clearly it's a superior way to play. There's no hidden anti-Protoss balance winding in that statement whatsoever. we're all good. But Elazer's not so good, right? He's down 0-2. I believed in game 2. I thought the Ling run by was really solid, getting into Lurkers like that, and MaxPax not properly on an anti-Lurker composition, a solid way to play. But now we move on to Oceanborn, right? That's map 3. It's a bit bigger of a map, certainly. It's a map that can be a little bit harder for Protoss to attack into. What do you want to see out of Elazer here?
I want to see a first clean 5 minutes, because I believe if you can play a game like that after a very rough start, where you lose 5 drones against the first 2 adepts, imagine what Elazer would be capable of if he doesn't fall behind. You're allowed to lose 2 drones if the adepts YOLO in and want to give up their life. You're maybe even allowed to lose 3 drones if you didn't make too many links. But you can't make 8 links, pool drones, and then still lose 5. That's just simply too many. If Elazer can clean up the start a little bit, and that's so much easier said than done against this man, then I do believe that he can make this still one hell of a series. This man, of course, in the bottom right side, one of the finest Oracle players when it comes to the early game of PvZ, moving those adepts and oracles around like no one's business. It is Storm Gaming's MaxPax.
And of course is back against the wall, but getting cleaner and cleaner, playing a little bit better every game in this series thus far. For Team Liquid, it's Elazer.
MaxPax always hedge blocking, eh? I think he really loves it when the Zerg is forced to take the third as their natural, because that means that it's likely drones are going to be a bit more exposed, that they will be bouncing between the main base and the natural. Later on, they could be bouncing from two angles, right? Because once Elazer goes up to 3 bases and he takes his natural, then you have drones that are exposed when they travel from the main to the low ground, and you also have drones that are traveling from the third back to the natural. So there are so many spots where they are exposed, and I think that's where MaxPax often finds his success with the oracles a bit later on.
Yeah, it's not even just that as well. The transfer's annoying. Certainly, the transfer's a problem. In terms of maybe an adept picking something off, an oracle picking something off, but there's also the mining time that you lose there. It going from this main to this third base is pretty significant lost mining time. So is it worth? It's probably worth about a drone or two. I did the math at one point, but regardless, on every aspect, it's the Protoss player making the Zerg just a little bit more uncomfortable. And you know, we're what, 3 years into the hatch block meta, 2 years into the hatch block meta. At this point, Elazer knows how to handle it. You know, every Zerg player knows how to handle it, but it does make their openings slightly less efficient. It slows down their growth in the mid game just a tiny bit. And if you can sandbag that or snowball that with adepts into a mineral line, oracles over something, that minor advantage suddenly gets a lot bigger.
And what often is the case as well is that all 3 bases are not perfectly connected with creep yet. So whether that's the main to the natural or the natural to the third, there's often that little spot where queens go from Ferrari queens to Fiat Punto queens. And yeah, that can make the difference between keeping oracles at bay or allowing oracles to dive in and activate Pulsar Beam one more time. So that is also something to keep an eye on. Let's first keep an eye on the first 2 adepts of MaxPax, because it is fascinating. It is funny that every single Protoss player above 5,000 MMR on this planet opens up with a couple of adepts, tries to kill drones. Very few of them get a bunch, and then you watch MaxPax and he gets 5 or 6 almost every single game. Not this time though. This is the first time where Elazer just casually surrounds one of these adepts with slow Zerglings. Lost, I think, a single drone there, but that's completely acceptable. 1 drone for 1 adept. These are the starts that Elazer needs.
Yeah, adepts, of course, just you take those trades, absolutely. But of course, MaxPax has more opportunities before the 6-minute mark to get more damage done. He's got oracles, right? He can build more adepts if he wants to. But one of the downsides, and we saw Elazer take advantage of it a little bit right there, is if you lose your adepts early on, and certainly if you don't get, say, 5 drones, which is just massive, all of a sudden the lings that you made, that your Zerg opponent made to go defend that, they can run across the map. They can put pressure on the third base. MaxPax had his third base not a ton because he had an oracle and he had to spend the energy on that, which diminishes the damage they can get on the other side, but it does slow down the economy of the Protoss just a bit. They have to slow down taking their third base just a little bit. Energy on the oracle is less damage. So already, I mean, we talked about this, but Elazer, this first 5 minutes, first 4.5 minutes is so much cleaner than it was in game 1.
Yeah, by far and away the best side that he's had, as this oracle does dive in, activates Pulsar Beam. But you can see now it becomes harder for MaxPax as well. If you don't find that initial damage, sure, you can find some damage later on, but now you're gonna have to pay a price for it, and that price is taking a lot of damage on your oracle. So now he gets 3. We're 5 minutes into the game. He gets 4 in total, but it was a lot later than the first 2 adepts managed to grab 5 drones in game 1 and game 2, and this time around the oracles actually had to sacrifice some life. So yeah, this is the kind of start that Elazer needs, and that is just step 1 of beating MaxPax in this matchup. There are probably 27 additional steps that he's gonna have to take, but hey, at least I would say, BO, that the first step has been a successful one.
Like, congrats, you survived the first 5 minutes. Yeah, let's keep going, right? So adepts are gonna try to shade it. That's a nice position. Well, no, actually, Lynx gets pretty decent surround, but adepts, of course, trying to find a little bit of an angle. They're gonna trade their lives out for Lings, which is not what you're looking for, right? You're trying to get drones off of that one. So the fact that 2 go down very quickly, the third one gets pretty low, and Queen's gonna handle that. Oracles can't dive in at the same time, so this is something that Hero likes to do a ton, right? Where you dive in with adepts on one side, oracles another, and suddenly a bunch of workers are dead. MaxPax didn't quite pull that off, so even as he gets 3 more drones, he traded 3 adepts for it. Again, these are trades that, as Elazer, as he's losing a drone here, a drone there, instead of them all in a clump, gladly 3 adepts for 3 drones. At this point, yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, but what I also really need to see right now is a Roach Warren on the side of Elazer or a Baneling Nest. I don't really care, one of the two. He goes for the Hydra then. That kicks in a little bit later. It might be fine if he just gets the Queens and Lings in a good spot, but we have a whole bunch of Zealots soon with +1 attack that can run to the other side of the map. +1 is massive for Zealots, for the people that don't know. If Zerglings don't have any armor upgrades, it only takes 2 slices for a Zealot to kill a Ling instead of the 3 that you normally start off with. So if MaxPax would attack with 16 Zealots +1, maybe an Archon or 2, I don't think it really matters how many 0/0 Zerglings you have and how many Queens you have. You're in trouble. You need something that's a bit more powerful. Oh my god, Elazer is going all the way up to 89 drones. I'm afraid he's just gonna get A-moved here. We need more drones and a hive. BO, he needs units. He needs units and he needs them now. And he's supply block too. We need those Elazer overlords. Ay, ay, ay.
He should have been able to know this was happening about 30 seconds ago. He had a ton of Lings on top of the third base thinking about a run by, and he just never scouted in. He just kind of had them there. They saw a stalker on the outside edge, and that was all they went for. All he had to do was just not even commit to the run by, but just dive in. He sees everything. He should be able, those 8 drones should have been 8 Hydras or whatever it was, and all of a sudden it's not easy because, oh, I love this wall though, as just a little bit of a position for the Queens to hide behind. It's pretty cool, but the Queens, they run out from it anyways. Hydra on the right side gets taken down. The force fields are solid. Lings should be never mind, that's a lot more zealous than I thought it was. Lings will not be able to deal with this. And for now, the Queens are solid, but I mean, drones are going down, the spines. This is panic mode from Elazer, and unfortunately for him, Rodney, that panic is well founded. There is just nothing to deal with it.
Nope, he's trying to just buy some time. He tried to buy time with that Zergling counterattack as well, which I kind of like, hoping that MaxPax would turn around. MaxPax didn't really turn around. The Archons have died though. The Queens and Spinecrawlers have kind of tried to do their thing and buy some time, but the Zealot count is still pretty high. We've got Oracles in the back. They're going to activate Pulsar Beam. Even if Elazer survives, all those drones that he built earlier, they are falling, and I don't even know if he's going to survive because MaxPax still has that Warp Prism sitting pretty in the back. Look at the bank as well of MaxPax. MaxPax didn't even have perfect macro during all of this, but MaxPax says, I'm just going to go for it. I'll see how much you have. You are Elazer. You tend to be a little greedy from time.